The Northern Cape, South Africa's biggest province, and my personal favorite. There's a saying that goes that once the Kalahari sand gets into your shoes, you will always yearn to come back, and I wholeheartedly agree. But what is it that makes this place so special? Everything, really.
The Northern Cape is renowned for its epic landscapes. Sculpted by millions of years of water, ice, wind and heat, the stage is set with extraordinary beauty. And when life finds a way where water is scarce, it does so in dramatic fashion. It is a brutal, sun-scorched world, still largely unchanged by mankind.
Once again, a farmer flew hundreds of kilometers just to catch a glimpse of the famous Ironvan. We hit the first dirt road and we were super happy to be in the Kalahari. And as always, the characteristic sociable weaver nests were warmly welcoming us. We finally arrived at our first destination, Witsand Nature Reserve. So we left Joburg early this morning. It's quite a long drive. I think we drove about 8 or 9 hours to get here, but we are finally here. For those who don't understand Afrikaans, Witsand just means white sand. And it is a small reserve in the middle of the Kalahari that just has this big patch of white sand. It's not big, it's about 10 by 3 kilometers, but there's a hell of a lot of activities that you can do here. You can rent bicycles, there are hiking routes, you can rent sandboards and then you can ride the dunes with them. And there's also a new 4x4 eco route that you can do. You need to be 2 vehicles and we're only 1, but there's quite a couple of people in the campsite, so we'll just see if we can make a friend and maybe somebody wants to do that with us. But it is so lekker to be here. It's beautiful all round, it smells really good, it's just so peaceful. I cannot even explain it, and I think now is a good time to light a campfire.
It's so nice being in a campsite after a long day's drive and just being calm and listening to all the nature. It's so lekker. This campsite's really nice. It's got electricity and it's got water, and the ablutions apparently are amazing. Alti told me, amazing. So tonight's menu is a nice thick steak. In Afrikaans I say a telefoonboek steak, which means like the old telephone books you used to get. The thickness is nice. And then got some lamb sousaties, specially imported. So I think it's going to be delicious. Camping is lekker.
Someone once taught me this really nifty trick that if you are going to do potatoes in the fire, if you put a little bit of butter or margarine on them before you wrap them in the foil, they come out really juicy and tasty. I personally am not a huge fan of using foil because it is environmentally unfriendly, but there are certain occasions that simply ask for it. Not 100% sure how long they actually need to go in the fire for. I normally just guesstimate, but Depending on the heat, I'm guessing it's anywhere between 20 to 40 minutes. So we put lots of wood because we need lots of coals. The moon is out, the stars are bright, everything is just as good as it can be. I cannot wait to get in that tent and just sleep. It's going to be so good.
We had a nice sleep, and this morning we're going to reception to get ourselves some dune boards, and we're going to go off the dunes and we're going to do some Kalahari surfing. Cue the beach music.
What they don't tell you is that sandboarding requires a lot of effort. We had a monstrous hill to climb, and the blazing sun wasn't helping.
And the thing that bothers me a bit is every time you go down the dune on the board, you need to make your way back up to go again. So I don't know how many of those we're going to have in us. Whew.
We eventually made it, and at long last it was time to wax the board and get surfing. I was up first, and a little nervous, to be honest. The first attempt was a failure, but on the next try, I was getting the hang of it.
Ow. I don't know what hurts more, eating sand or the tiredness. But I came down hard and my breath is out. I found my breath out. Is it worth it? Not yet.
I was up next, and hoping that I wouldn't wipe out as bad as Dirk on my first try, I had a special trick up my sleeve. This one you can sit down on, so maybe that's going to be a bit easier. Whew, this is such a tough walk. But the hard walk up the dune was even worth the view alone. It was simply breathtaking from up there. I mustered up all my courage and had a go on the board. Sitting is definitely the better option if you want to get the most out of the treacherous journey to the top. Dirk was dead set on surfing the dune, and he did much better with every try. That was really fun. It is a lot of work to get up the dune, and it is hot out here, but totally worth it. And now it's time for a swim. But I just want to see how much sand I do have in my shoes. Check it.
It gets devastatingly hot in the Northern Cape, especially in the middle of summer, and the only way to cool down is a swim. We were joined by brown-veined butterflies at the start of their great annual migration, and it seemed as though the ants were keen for them to get going.
Okay, for lunch, lemon and herb chicken, some wraps. We're gonna caramelize onions on the fire, and we have some tomatoes as well. It's very, very hot, that's why we're standing under the tree, but all on the fire. Very lekker. Let's go do it.
We made a fire in like 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and cooking chicken takes a while. So it was weird because the Kalahari sun is so potent. It was about, I think, 39 degrees, and me and Alti just faded out, and our energy drained. But now the sun is setting, and we're gonna have a nice bike ride in this beautiful reserve. I'm very excited. It feels like I've been through war. So yeah, I'm very excited to get some wind into the system and just recuperate. Right. You must come.
We can definitely recommend a bicycle ride. The leisurely outing and the beautiful colors of the sunset had a rejuvenating effect on our mood and cured us of our midday chicken wrap madness.
It's so much fun. Loving it. I'm just glad we waited for the sun to set before we did this. It is warm.
We lit a fire for our last night at Witsand, and while we watched the clouds gathering in the sky, we had a surprise visitor in the campsite.
I nearly just had a heart attack because I almost stepped on a scorpion right next to the fire, which is quite ironic because last night and tonight we were walking around with this flashlight trying to find one, and we found it by nearly stepping on it. This is quite cool to have because scorpions, hey, they glow under an ultraviolet light like this. They generally have like a green or a yellow tinge to them. And this one looks like it's kind of greenish. Very, very cool. But I think it's out because it looks like there might be a storm approaching from the north. It started out as a few clouds on the horizon, but it's now almost entirely over us. And it looks like it's starting to get dark. So we'll see. Maybe we have a storm in the Kalahari. So the storm didn't really bring much other than a hell of a lot of wind and just enough raindrops to dirty everything that was so dusty. But the wind is really nice because today is a very cool day. I actually wish we were staying here for a bit longer. We were only here for 2 nights, but I feel really rested and I feel like I saw the Kalahari again for a bit. So I'd really recommend this place to anyone. It is such a special, special place. Just the birds and the campsites and the trees, everything is just absolutely beautiful. And now we are on our way to Namaqua, which is also a place we've never been, and I'm hoping that maybe we can camp in a spot where we would have like 360-degree views of nothing.